So today we're going to have a bit of fun with backgrounds. So with a soft brush, we're going to put some clear water on and do some really nice, intense coloured background before we put some trees on. So there goes some hugely blue, some purple. Let's put that in. Let that run. Now I want some bright colours down the bottom here, so I'm going to go for some extremes. Put some pink on. Right up to the top so we get a nice bit of bleed coming down. I'll have some more purple over this side. Actually, more pink. These colours are fading fast. That's better. Okay. I've got an old pair of tights, and I'm just going to scrunch those up, press them down into the water. And then I've got some cling film. And I'm just going to make landfall, as they say. And then I'm going to leave that to dry. It needs to be completely dry before we do anything else. So now my background wash is dry, I'm going to take my cling film off and take my tights away. I've got a nice textured background there. And I'm going to work with that and start putting my trees in. I've mixed a colour of the hooker's green from out of my palette, but a mid green. I've added some red and I've added some blue. To make a dark brown, to make a rich dark shade. I'm going to start over this side and just take my kind of wobbly line something like that with a Y. I'm going to start them at different heights and angles. You can see my background is perhaps still a little bit damp doesn't matter. Let's have a higher one up here. Just sketching in where I'm going to put them, and then probably, this is still quite wet over this side, so I'll have one going this way. So I'm going to leave that's okay. So I'm going to just literally root these trees now. So instead of just sort of stopping them here, I shall take them down into kind of a bit of a gnarled base. And then I'm going to thicken some up. Now I've obviously got this yellow on this side, so it's like there's sun coming this way. So on the opposite side, I'm just going to thicken this trunk up, sort of moving my brush around. On this one. Might take another thicker branch from near the base. So you're just winging it at this stage, making different shapes in your composition, but keeping the brush nice and light and trying to finish with these Y shapes. So again, on this side, just literally root my tree. Keep the brush really light. And then I'm going to put some more trees in the background so that I need them to be lighter. So I'm adding more water to the colour I've got. And I'll make them thinner. Almost quite ghost-like, these. It's a bit dark, so I'm just going to top that off. Bit of splitting going on my brush there, so I don't really want that. So I'm leaving a little bit of foreground here. And I've got some nice bleed going on, which is I'm quite happy with. What I'm going to do is take a little bit of yellow and green, and maybe on the sun side here, just add a little bit of moss. Because I think the more interesting we can make the bark, the more they sit as interesting trees. over the top. If we were doing a winter scene, we could just keep building it up with the branches in the foreground and background. But I think I'll just do a few more. I think I'd like to change the colour towards the background, so I'm going to put a little bit more blue into my brown, just to give it a bit more interest, but still keep it quite watery. And I seem to have ended up with just a bit of a regular line here, so I'm going to bring some forwards a little bit. Okay. I'm going to put some leaves in. I'm going to use a round brush for this, and I'm going to keep a little bit of height so we can still see those tree trunks. So I've got my original green, Hooker's green, out of the tube, but I'm mixing some red because I don't want it to be too bright, but I do want to start off light. So I'm going to start off with this really pale colour, and I'm going towards the edge of the... So I'm going to start off with some quite light green, and I'm just going towards the edge of where I've painted the branches. I'm just dotting it on. So I'm not coming right down, I'm going to stay up quite high because I want these tree trunks to be seen. And this is just about practice and getting your own feel for what you want to do. Right, I'm going in with some real lemon now, just in that centre section, I think, maybe just catching the light up there. So hopefully it's looking spring-like, that's the idea. And I'm preferring this sort of wash to the individual bits, so I'm going to put a little bit more water in some areas just to close it up a tiny bit. I think I'd like that underside to be bluer rather than purple. It's looking a bit dull. I want to do something in the foreground, so I'm going to take the rigger brush and my tree trunk colour, see what's left of it. It's the green with a touch of red and a little bit of purple or blue. I've got these trees sort of sitting here, so they need something going on just to put them on the ground a little bit more. So because there's shade underneath these trees, I've chosen quite a dark colour to do some grasses. I'm just adding some blue to keep it nice and cool in the shade. I'm following the pattern that's happened with the background, and then on this side perhaps go with the purple and the pink just to give it a bit of texture. And now you can just spend, you know, whatever time you like building up different plants. So a tiny bit on the tree. Okay. Again, it's quite brutal that, so I'm going to add a tiny bit of water to help it run a bit. That's better. Okay. And then I'm going to try a little tiny bit of white on some of those branches. And I'm going to use watercolour white because I think acrylic white might be too much. So I'm just now evaluating the whole look, and I think the shadow needs to continue up here, which I didn't notice before. And now I'm going to see what happens when we put the salt on. I've got a pinch of my salt. Hopefully my paint's not gone too dry. I've only got table salt, so it's quite smooth. Not too much, obviously. So that has to dry completely. Let's see how that turns out.